Counter-Narrative News, bringing you daily news today on Tuesday the 7th of February 2023. In really tragic scenes in South Turkey and northern Syria and in the Kurdish areas impacted, a 7.8 scale earthquake has devastated communities there. Already there are nearly 3,000 reported killed, many still are buried in the rubble. Of course, Turkish and Syrian and Kurdish communities are mobilized in this emergency situation, and their global diaspora and their friends are coming to their support. We wish them all solidarity and for things to make it easier for the rescue effort and for the grieving families. Foreign Minister of Russia, Lavrov, is currently on a visit in Iraq, obviously to try and attain more energy resources for the Russian economy, especially in relation to the fallout of its initiation of conflicts and occupation and annexations of its neighbour Ukraine. Lavrov, similar to other remarks in East Africa, commented on the importance to respect sovereignty, which obviously is a very important issue in global politics. But considering that Russia invaded with its army in January 2022 Kazakhstan, its southern neighbour, to crush a working class revolt, and also is ongoingly engaged in a year-long, more than a year-long conflict with its neighbour Ukraine, Lavrov perhaps should be lectured himself as to the ethics of sovereignty. And in terms of the Russian contribution to the allied states with Iraq in the region, that's the Islamic Republic based in Tehran, Baghdad and Damascus, and also Lebanese Hezbollah, Russia have deposited more far-right nationalism and political sectarianism into these entities. And it's not like these entities weren't already consumed to a great degree with political and religious sectarianism anyway. So the politics of Putin and Dugin having more influence in the region has already caused a great leadership crisis within Iran, with 36 former diplomats denouncing the manner in which the Iranian state has been, in their terms, quote-unquote, hijacked by the far-right nationalism of Dugin and Putin, and other similar, very messy situations. Going to the Caribbean, and particularly the island of Grenada, the former colonial slaving family of the Trevelayans in England have apologized for their role in enslaving African people and their colonial slavery plantations in Grenada, of which they had several. The British quote-unquote abolished slavery in 1833 as a result of many slave rebellions, not least in Haiti and Jamaica, and really was a tactical move in competition with other leading colonial powers. The Trevelayan family have apologized and given a £100,000 fund for community development, so-called, on the island. Considering the colonial crimes, not least of the enslavement of humans from the African continent and their transfer resulting in millions of deaths across the Atlantic into the Caribbean and the Americas, £100,000 is a very paltry sum. And even if the Trevelayan family gave millions of pounds to a so-called community fund in Grenada, it's still deeply problematic, as the system itself needs overturning. The political economic system has remained intact for many centuries, and until the oppressed gain power themselves and the ability to redistribute wealth amongst the labouring masses, these kind of actions by the Trevelayan family will at best fall flat, and more cynically seeing into this is just a reformist approach that does not address real issues, substantial issues of justice, etc. Interesting situation in Burkino Faso. The family of Thomas Sankara have refused to go to the new funeral and memorial site which the military junta in Burkina Faso have organized. Thomas Sankara was a radical socialist, anti-imperialist leader who came to power in a military coup in August 1983. In 15th of October 1987, he was martyred in a counter-coup led by his hitherto right-hand man, Blaise Compaoré, who ruled Burkina Faso until he was overthrown. And a military court in Burkina Faso in April 2014 found him guilty of crimes in relation to the killing of Sankara in absentia. Burkina Faso currently is a military junta. There is no moves to empower the labouring people and redistribute wealth there. However, they have adjusted their global relations, moved away from the historical colonizing power of France, and shifted towards Putin and Moscow, and particularly have invited the racist death squad known as the Wagner Group from Moscow, which is very closely associated with Putin. The move to have a new memorial for Thomas Sankara is arguably a very manipulative move, arguably, because instead of actually making moves to empower the poorest in Burkina Faso, things like a new memorial site with Thomas Sankara is not going to wash in that regards, and the Sankara family are right to say that this is not the way to go about doing things. Finally, on the 6th of February, one should say, in 2005, the Washington Post promoted an article suggesting that the Arab secular and Arab nationalist state of Saddam Hussein's Ba'athist Iraq was somehow colluding with Al-Qaeda, which was used by the United States, including its Secretary of State at the time, Colin Powell, infamously at the UN Security Council, trying to promote a similar lie on which the war led by the New Labour government in London and also George Bush Jr. conducted the Iraq war exactly on that lie. Also on this day, that's the 7th of February 2006, the more than 500,000 people of France protested across nearly 200 cities and towns, protesting at a proposed government reform to employment law that could see employers sack without reason or warning employees from the age of 18 to 26 years old. After many protests, occupations, riots and uprisings across France, the government was forced to abandon that particular employment law, perhaps informing what could be strategies in other parts of the world, including in the so-called trade unions strike wave in Britain. That's Counter-Narrative News, bringing daily news today. Please continue to support us by sharing our platform with your friends and contacts across your social media, etc. Please encourage those who haven't to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to follow us on Twitter at @counter_CNN. We wish you a fantastic day. Thank you.